Bullies pick on the wrong new black girl, not knowing she's a brutal fighter. Hello everyone. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to hear more meaningful stories. The first day Emily Harris stepped into Brooklyn High, it felt as though the whole school paused for a moment, taking in the quiet presence of the new girl. The weight of 1,000 silent questions hung in the air, but Emily kept her head down, blending seamlessly into the crowd of students flooding the hallways. She wasn't here to make a splash or draw attention, she was just here to get through her final year. From the moment she set foot on the yellow school bus that morning, Emily knew the drill. It wasn't her first time being the new girl, and it certainly wouldn't be the last. She had transferred so many times before, from one unfamiliar town to another, that she had perfected the art of invisibility. To survive, she had learned to move like a shadow, silent, unnoticed, and without a trace. Brooklyn High, with its worn-out red brick facade and narrow, bustling hallways, looked just like any other school she'd been to. It was the same blend of harsh fluorescent lights, lockers crammed together like sardines, and the hum of whispered conversations. The only thing that set it apart was the cold stares that followed her every step. As a black girl in a school where most students were white, Emily had long grown accustomed to being the center of unwanted curiosity. But instead of standing out, she made herself as small as possible, slipping through the crowd like a whisper on the wind. Emily had no intention of making friends, no interest in becoming part of any group. She wasn't here to be noticed, to fight for attention, or to fight at all. All she wanted was a peaceful year, a quiet escape to graduation. Little did she know, fate had other plans for her, and the silence she had perfected would soon become a target for someone with much darker intentions. It didn't take long for Sophia Clark to notice Emily, with her perfectly styled blonde hair cascading like silk over her shoulders. Sophia was everything Brooklyn High seemed to worship: beautiful, wealthy, and popular. She moved through the school with the effortless confidence of someone who had already carved out her spot at the top of the social ladder. Everyone looked at her, admired her, and most feared her, but it was in Emily's quiet, unassuming presence that Sophia saw an opportunity. Emily was different. She didn't fit the mold. That made her the perfect target. Sophia's icy blue eyes tracked Emily as she walked through the crowded hallways, her every move like a ripple in a still pond, drawing eyes to her without ever intending to. Emily's calmness, her silence, made her stand out in the worst way possible in Sophia's eyes. To someone like Sophia, Emily's restraint wasn't a sign of strength, it was a weakness. Something that needed to be broken. Sophia, with her ruthless ambition, wasn't just interested in dominating the popular crowd, she needed to establish her absolute power. If she could break Emily, make her react, make her afraid, it would send a message to the whole school. Sophia would become even more untouchable. Her position solidified beyond question. And so, the first cruel whispers began to ripple through the hallways. At first, it was subtle, mocking glances, quiet jeers, but they were just the beginning. Sophia wasn't in a hurry. She didn't need to strike fast. She had all the time in the world to make Emily feel small, to make her question everything. It started with the small things: an elbow shoved just a little too hard in the crowded hall, a taunting whisper when Emily walked by, a laughter that was always too loud when Sophia passed her in the hallway. To anyone else, it might have seemed like nothing, just the random cruelty of high school. But for Sophia, it was a calculated game, a slow burn that would eventually force Emily to crack. And for the first time since walking through those school doors, Emily felt the first stirrings of a storm she hadn't seen coming. What Sophia Clark didn't know, what no one knew, was that Emily Harris was not the timid, helpless girl they assumed her to be. Beneath her quiet exterior lay something far more powerful: discipline, skill, and a strength forged not in the glare of attention but in the silent hours spent in her father's gym. From a young age, Emily had learned the art of control. While most kids were out playing in the streets or worrying about fitting in, she was in the gym, training, sweating, and pushing herself beyond what anyone thought possible. Her father, John Harris, a former fighter, had taught her not just how to fight, but why it was important to never let anger or fear dictate her actions. Martial arts had become more than just a way to defend herself, it was a philosophy, a way of life. It taught her how to stay calm in the face of adversity, how to control the storm inside her, and how to know when to fight, and when to walk away. Sophia had made a grave mistake. She had picked the wrong girl to mess with. Emily didn't respond to the petty taunts or the cruel whispers because she didn't need to. She had learned long ago that silence could be a weapon. That sometimes, not reacting was the most powerful response. But the more Sophia pushed, the more Emily's resolve solidified. She wasn't just going to endure this, she was going to show them all exactly what it meant to mess with the wrong person. Emily had kept her past hidden, her true strength locked away. But now, she would reveal just enough to let them know, this was not a fight they were going to win. As the days wore on, Emily remained the calm center in the storm of high school drama. She didn't lash out, she didn't retaliate, but inside, a fire burned, quiet, steady, and ready. Emily Harris was no victim. And sooner or later, Sophia Clark was going to learn that. As the days passed, the tension between Emily and Sophia grew, like a slow-burning fuse leading to an inevitable explosion. Sophia, sensing the unease in the air, decided to escalate her game. She wasn't content with subtle insults anymore, now. It was time for a full-on performance. Emily's silence, her refusal to break, was driving her mad. She wanted a reaction, any sign of weakness, something, anything, to show that Emily was just another target to be crushed under her heel. It was in the crowded hallways, in the bustling cafeteria, in the moments when Emily least expected it that Sophia would strike. Her words were sharp, venomous, and always delivered with the confidence of someone who had the world at her feet. Emily could feel the weight of the eyes on her, the whispers that followed her like a shadow. But she refused to let them see her falter. Sophia's words, laced with mockery, bounced off her, and though it burned inside, Emily didn't let it show. Sophia was relentless. She made sure to corner Emily at every turn, drawing attention to her with each passing day. The game had shifted. No longer was Emily just the quiet new girl who slipped under the radar. Now, she was the focus of everyone's attention, the unwilling star of a show she hadn't asked to be a part of. But Emily had one thing Sophia didn't: control. She knew that every glance, every whisper, was just a part of the game Sophia was playing. And Emily wasn't going to play by her rules. The more Sophia tried to break her, the more Emily's resolve solidified. She wasn't just going to survive this, she was going to endure it. Silently, until the moment came when the power shifted, and she would finally make her move. But that moment wasn't here yet. For now, Emily remained calm, her mind focused, her heart steady. She wasn't just going to prove Sophia wrong, she was going to prove to herself that no one could take her down, no matter how hard they tried. The cafeteria fell silent the moment Emily stepped in, the usual hum of voices dying down as if the room itself knew something was about to happen. All eyes turned toward her, some curious, others eager for the spectacle they knew was coming. Emily didn't flinch. She didn't look around or acknowledge the stares. Instead, she walked in with the same calm determination she carried every day. The murmurs of her classmates filled the air like a thick cloud. And through it all, Emily moved like a force of nature, as though nothing could touch her. Sophia was waiting. She had positioned herself at the center of the chaos, her blonde hair glimmering in the fluorescent lights, a smug smile curling her lips. It was the moment she had been building toward, a final act in her twisted little show. As Emily walked past her, Sophia leaned forward, her voice just loud enough for everyone to hear, dripping with mockery and disdain. Still pretending to be tough. Huh, Emily? You think you can just keep hiding behind that calm face of yours? Sophia's words sliced through the air, sharp as a knife. For a brief moment, Emily's gaze flicked toward her, and in that single glance, there was no anger, no fear, just an eerie calmness that sent a shiver through the crowd. It was the kind of stillness that spoke louder than any words ever could. In the face of Sophia's cruelty, Emily's silence was not weakness. It was power, a power that radiated from within her, unfazed and unbroken. Sophia paused, a flicker of uncertainty crossing her face for the first time. She was used to seeing people crumble under pressure, their defenses shattering in the face of her scorn. But not Emily. Sophia could feel it now. Her little game was no longer fun. It was no longer in her control. The eyes of the cafeteria were no longer fixed on Emily with judgment, but on Sophia, waiting for her to act, to prove that she still held the reins. For the first time, Sophia felt the shift. The weight of the attention had turned against her. Emily had not only refused to break, she had turned the tables. Subtly and powerfully, without even lifting a finger. And for a fleeting moment, Sophia wasn't sure if she was in control anymore, if she ever had been. After the cafeteria incident, the tension only intensified. Emily knew Sophia would come at her harder now. Her pride was on the line. And when someone like Sophia Clark's pride was bruised, it wasn't something she'd let slide easily. But Emily had been prepared for this moment for years. She knew what it meant to fight, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. This was a battle for respect, for her dignity, and it wasn't one she planned to lose. One evening, as Emily sat quietly in her room, the quiet hum of the world outside felt distant, as if she were in a bubble, cut off from everything. Her father's words echoed in her mind, the lessons he had instilled in her over the years. You don't start the fight, but you must be the one to end it. It wasn't just about winning or losing, it was about maintaining control. About not letting someone else dictate your actions or your worth. John Harris had never taught her to fight out of anger or for revenge. His teachings were rooted in discipline and self-control. True strength is in the ability to walk away when you can, and the ability to stand firm when you can't. But what made this situation different? What made this moment so crucial? Was that Emily wasn't just defending herself, she was defending everything she had worked so hard to build, her peace, her silence, and her place in the world. The next day, when Sophia tried again, using her usual tactics to provoke Emily, she wasn't met with fear or even anger. No, Emily stood there, calm as ever, her eyes steady and unwavering. In that silence, in the stillness of her resolve, Emily was teaching Sophia something far more powerful than any insult could ever convey. That no matter how hard she tried, Emily would not bend, not break, and certainly not beg for mercy. And in that moment, Emily realized something. Her silence wasn't a weakness, it was her strength. It was a shield forged in years of practice and patience. And it was the only weapon she needed. Days passed, and the pressure on Emily only grew heavier, suffocating in its intensity. Sophia was relentless. She could feel the victory just within reach, like a hunter watching its prey grow weaker with every step. Emily's silence, her refusal to react, was driving her mad, but she couldn't stop now, not when she was so close. So, she decided to escalate the game to its final, unforgiving stage. This time, she would break Emily, no doubt about it, and she would do it in front of everyone, making sure there was no escape. The next confrontation came like a storm. It was lunch, the cafeteria buzzing with the usual noise. Students scattered in their little groups, gossiping and laughing, but for Emily, the air felt thick, heavy with expectation. She knew the moment was coming. She could feel the eyes of her classmates on her already, their whispers thick with anticipation. Sophia was watching, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Sophia's words were sharper this time, cutting through the chatter like a knife. She stood directly in front of Emily, her face a mask of cold calculation, her smile almost predatory. What's the matter, Emily? No more tough girl act? What happened to all that silent strength? Her voice was laced with mockery, each word meant to poke at Emily, to push her until she snapped. But Emily didn't snap. She didn't flinch. Her eyes locked with Sophia's, and in that brief moment, everything else faded away. The entire cafeteria seemed to hold its breath. In the stillness that followed, Emily's calm was like a force field. Sophia's cruel taunts bounced off her, as if the very air between them was thick with an impenetrable wall of resolve. Sophia's confidence faltered, just for a second, but it was enough. For the first time, she felt the grip of fear, an uncomfortable, alien sensation that began to creep in. She wasn't winning this game, and the realization hit her like a cold wave. Emily wasn't the weak, broken girl she had assumed. Sophia tried again, her words growing even more biting, desperate to provoke some kind of reaction. But Emily remained steadfast, her gaze unyielding. The more Sophia pushed, the clearer it became. Emily was not just enduring this moment, she was silently showing Sophia that she could never, ever be broken by her. The days following the cafeteria incident were filled with an electric charge, as though the entire school had collectively held its breath, waiting for something to happen. The whispers about Emily had shifted. No longer were they filled with mockery or judgment, but curiosity and respect. It was as if the tables had turned. And now everyone was watching Sophia, the once untouchable queen of Brooklyn High. With wary eyes, she had miscalculated, and it was becoming painfully clear that Emily, the girl she had tried to break, had become someone entirely different. Someone who would not bend to the pressure, no matter how hard she pushed. Sophia, feeling the weight of her pride slipping, tried to recover her ground. She couldn't let it end like this, not when she had so carefully built her position. So, she sought out the perfect opportunity. And it came, as it always did, in the most public of places, gym class. A space where everything was watched. And the social pecking order was on full display. As the students gathered in their groups, warming up for the activity, Sophia took her chance. She approached Emily, who had always found her corner. Always stood slightly apart from the chaos. But today, Sophia was determined to push her to the edge. She moved swiftly, her eyes locked on Emily with the cold intent of someone who believed she was about to claim her victory. This time, however, it was different. Emily stood taller than before. Her calm, unbothered demeanor was more than just a shield, it was a message to everyone around her. She wasn't scared, she wasn't intimidated, and she certainly wasn't going to give Sophia the satisfaction of reacting. Sophia was relentless, but Emily's unyielding silence began to gnaw at her. The crowd that gathered around them, ready for the usual drama, started to feel the shift too. It wasn't just Sophia who had the power to command attention anymore, it was Emily. With her quiet strength, her defiance, her unwillingness to be controlled, the more Sophia tried to provoke her, the more Emily stood her ground. Unshaken, calm, and resolute, Sophia's confidence started to crack. She could feel it in the way the crowd's attention shifted. No longer were they looking at Emily with pity or amusement, but with a newfound sense of admiration. And for the first time, Sophia felt the sting of real uncertainty. She had tried to break Emily, to force her into submission. But instead, Emily had done something far more dangerous. She had made Sophia question her own power. In life, true strength isn't about reacting to every provocation or showing aggression. It's about maintaining your inner peace, standing your ground, and not letting others define your worth. Emily's story teaches us that silence, resilience, and self-control can be far more powerful than any confrontation. It's not about winning in the traditional sense, but about showing unwavering strength in the face of adversity. If you found Emily's story inspiring, don't forget to support us by subscribing to the channel for more powerful stories like hers. Hit the bell icon to stay updated, and join our community in celebrating the strength within us all.